This week on the Bass Pixie's Music and Lifestyle blog, we're going to take a look at songwriting. For me, it could be either. I usually get a snippet of something, so often it'll have a little melody and some words. It tends to come together. And then I spend a couple of minutes just playing around with the idea. It usually doesn't have a fully fledged idea, so I don't like go, ooh, I'm going to write a song about love, or I'm going to write a song about sex. Sometimes I'll actually get like maybe a guitar riff or a bass riff.
The classic question, which came first, the chicken and the egg? Well, for me it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation because neither really come first. So you get a melody ideas a lot easier than lyrics, but sometimes I'll read a line in a book or someone will say something and it will spark an idea.
Oh, well, mine's very higgledy-piggledy. I know Jim's really organised at this. He's like all logic and, you know, he gets a fully fledged song in his head. I just don't. My songs kind of come in fits and starts. I tend to work on lyrics first, along with the melody. They kind of come at the same time for me. I'm very lyric driven. When I've got a little idea, I will tend to put together, I'll tend to sit and I'll have a big notebook, and I've got this notebook that's just got scribblings and ideas and things like that, and I'll take the idea and I'll first of all come up with a theme for the song. So I'll think, okay, so that lyric, that leads me to a song about, oh, you know, this woman's just broke up with her boyfriend and she's really angry with him, so she's in this kind of hate feel, and I'm going to tell the story about how she's feeling, and then maybe, you know, I like to add a little twist usually to my lyrics so that things develop as you go along. So maybe by the end of the verse she's actually moved on and she's cool or whatever. Once I've got my generic topic, what I think the song's going to be about, I'll start writing. And the key to the writing is you have to think of all the senses. How does it smell? How does it look? What do things look like where you are? How do you feel inside? Can you hear any sounds? Is there anything audible that's going on? And I like to try and get an element of all of those things. So I will free write on the subject. That's literally a technique where you get your notebook and you put your pen to paper and you just write whatever comes into your head. But the point is to not stop and to not pause and just to keep writing. And I'll do a session between 5 and 10 minutes of free writing and try and go, is there any interesting lyrics in that? Is there anything I like? I also use things like, I'll use a rhyming dictionary, because sometimes you've got an amazing line, you know what you want to say, but nothing rhymes where really you want it to rhyme. I use a thesaurus, because sometimes I'll be like, this is what I want to say, but that word sounds really rubbish. So I use a lot of little tools like that as well to help me finish my lyrics. When it comes to the music, I always find that a bit harder. I tend to write the chords using my piano, because I was first and foremost a pianist. But with the chords, I've usually got something in my head. I can, you know, once you've got a melody, the chords kind of fit. But, you know, I'll sit at a piano and I might try some different chords. I might try some substitutions, things like that. Add another chord somewhere where I think, oh, this sounds a little bit boring. One of two things happens at this point. Either I'll just go, yep, that'll do, I've got enough of an idea in my head, and I'll just take it to the guys, and then we just kind of workshop it. You know, I find it pointless to write guitar solos, because if I write anything, Jim will do it 10 times better, so I just don't bother.
If I'm out somewhere, I might sing a lyric into my phone. Other than that, I will use a computer, which I find really useful to get all my ideas down. So once I've got the lyrics down and recorded it to my phone, I'll attempt to write some lyrics that are interesting. That one is With You and the Wind. It's pretty much finished actually. Just got some arrangement things to do with it. I like to put my songs down as real as possible, as in I like to use the instruments that I think will work for the song. Generally guitar, bass, drums if it's for Bamboozle. I have written stuff with other instruments in just because I feel like I can hear that in the song.
I use Logic. I'm pretty rubbish with Logic. I can do the basics. You know, but you know, we've got the microphone and I can record my vocal in there, and then, you know, I might we've got the little keyboard, so I might put the chords in, and we've got the drum looping thing, so I'll search through for 6 hours to try and find appropriate drums. I'm not very good with drums. I tend to use Logic if I'm really struggling or if I can't fully hear what I want. If I can hear it already, I don't feel like I need to. I'll just kind of go, right, okay, this is what it sounds like, guys, let's do it. But if it's complex or if there's specific things I'm looking for and I want to communicate them, I think they're a little bit more complex, I might put it into Logic. If you know Bamboozle, you might have heard the song. It's something that we've been doing live for a little while, and we did a little acoustic recording of it. But this is the sort of like the origins of Toxic Nightmare. So we've got a drum loop, which is really, really basic drum loop. And I think I used what they call I don't know what they call it actually. You've basically got a little session drummer that you can pop up, if I can find it. No idea where things are. Jim had to help me. I forgot how to use it. Got a little drummer playing along. And you'll set your tempo and things like that. And then you can basically choose different beat presets. You can use different drummers. So you've got like an indie rock drummer, garage drummer, modern 80s drummer. And there's loads of different ones you can download. And then you've got all your different drum kits as well. So you can have different style of kit. And then I've got some guitar. And on the demo, I've actually got 2 different guitar tracks. But, you know, when we do it live, we only have 1 guitarist. And then the upright bass, I recorded myself. I can't remember. I think this is a MIDI track. So what I did on this one is I actually just played it with the keyboard using an upright bass thing because it's quite a faff to go into the van, grab my bass out, mic it all up, and then you don't even get the greatest sound in the world anyway. So for demo purposes, it's much easier to just play it in there and stick an upright bass sound on it. I've just basically sung the vocals in. So I've done my own vocal, I've added the harmonies, and the demo comes out sounding something like this.
I've used Logic Pro X and I get a drum loop, which is really easy to do. And I will sometimes play electric bass on it, or I use this little keyboard here, which I can play bass lines on it quite easily. And then obviously guitar-wise, I'll just play that through this Focusrite.
Like I said before, the best instrument for me to write with is piano. And I've got access to chords, which you don't really have on a bass. And it was kind of my first instrument, so it's kind of still my go-to instrument. And also vocals, you know, just singing things.
Well, it has to be guitar, obviously. You know, I've been playing guitar since I was that high. It's always guitar for me. It's a lot easier. I understand it.
If I get writer's block, which usually happens to me if I'm under pressure and I've actually got to write something, I will... There's a lot of little things I like to do. So I'll go off and listen to a lot of music. So if I'm thinking... what I tend to do is, on my Spotify, if I get things that I like, so if there's a little bit of a song I like, or a chord change that I like, or a style of a song that I like, or of even just the atmosphere, I'll add them to a songwriting playlist. And also when I've got a specific song in mind, I tend to add a few songs that inspire me, that are kind of got a similar vibe to what I'm going for. So if I get stuck, I can always go back to that. I also do things like, we went on a cool songwriting course in London a while ago, and I loved one of the little things that we did there. We did this little exercise of, you know, you get a newspaper or a magazine and you look through for like title ideas or lyric ideas. And it's great. Things like looking at the horse racing listings, because they've got some really creative, fun names, and it can just spark an idea, you know. I'll go through my library of stuff because I must have hundreds of ideas that never made the cut so far, but maybe one day will. And if I'm really, really stuck, I just take some time out. You know, there's nothing better than taking time out, walking away and doing something else and then hoping it, you know, I'll work on another song, work on something else. I always find it's best not to force it, because if you force it, it's going to be rubbish and you're not going to be happy.
Generally, I'll probably just leave it for a while, come back to it, you know, so I'll go and do something else, play guitar maybe, go for a walk. I generally just come away from it, I think, and come back to it later. If they give me, say, oh, we want a song that sounds like the Beatles or something, I listen to a lot of Beatles, absorb it. Somehow that seems to help me develop a song into the thing that someone's looking for.
At the moment, I'm loving rockabilly. It's, I mean, rockabilly's, I suppose, for me, still quite new. I love the edge to it, you know. I mean, I love all the older music. I love the swing, I love the jazz, you know, it's all really cool. But rockabilly's just got this really cool edge. And I kind of like playing around with the style as well, because a lot of rockabilly was 12-bar blues, but it's quite nice to sort of, you know, add a few more chords. You know, slightly modernised the lyrics. I wouldn't say I'm a modern writer by any means.
Well, I do like the jive swing rockabilly style, but I'm quite happy writing any style really, whatever takes my fancy at the time.
Oh, favourite song I've written? God, I think it changes. Oh, Heebie Jeebies is one that comes to mind at the moment, just because we've just released and recorded the video and it's all really exciting. And I suppose seeing a song that I wrote go from being, you know, me singing into my phone, to being a fully fledged track with a video and everything, that's just like mega exciting. And I suppose it's something I never expected I'd really be able to do. I've been writing music since I was sort of like in my teens. And it's only recently I've ever actually done anything with anything I've written. Loving Toxic Nightmare as well at the moment. I suppose it's just got a real edge to it. And it was a really emotional song for me as well. It was one that came from a really difficult time, and a really difficult time that I found really hard to talk about. It's not about like an ex or anything like that. It was about a situation that didn't directly involve me. I mean, it did. I was involved, but it was more somebody else than me. So it was one of those things where I just couldn't get it out, and then I did in a song. It took quite a long time to write the lyrics. It was one of those that was, sometimes I'll write a song and I can just do it. But Toxic Nightmare was one that it just one I had to keep coming back to because I just wasn't quite happy with it. But yeah, I think because it took a bit longer, it's one I'm really proud of and I really like to listen to. It's really fun.
Difficult to say really, because I've written a lot of songs. I couldn't really say one was my favourite one. I guess it's always the latest one. It's in your mind all the time, so it's yeah, I guess it's just the latest song. Yeah, a song called Bleed I'm working on. That one's a bit more modern, but it's got a rockabilly edge to it. I'm working on a song called Tell Me, which is kind of almost rockabilly country sort of style.
I don't think songwriters necessarily inspire me so much as the songs they write. And it might not be an entire collection by a specific songwriter. It might be this song there and this song here. So I'm influenced quite heavily by a lot of Johnny Bennett's stuff because I really like Johnny Bennett's stuff. It's got this sort of rawness and this edge, and it's got some quite funny lyrics. I mean, some of them are quite dark. I love a lot of Janice Martin's stuff, and again, it's not stuff she wrote, but you know, some of the songs are really cool. Also, there's a lot of modern artists. You know, kind of guilty pleasure is Meghan Trainor. I love Meghan Trainor's songwriting. I think she's amazing. And things like quite into George Ezra at the moment. But and there's also a song by Panic at the Disco, which I was just like, this is just really cool songwriting. I think all songwriters have got at least one good song in them. You know, never mind how amateur or professional they are. Everyone's got like a great song in them, and you'll find that, you know, there'll be a songwriter that I'm not that keen on, but then they'll write something and I'll just go, whoa, love that. Oh, Chris Isaac's another big one of mine. I love his stuff. I love all the old classic rockabilly, all the classic swing, Louis Jordan, Louis Prima, all that kind of stuff, you know, love all that. Lyrics, wow, you know.
Well, I love all the greats, Irving Berlin, Gershwin, and the Beatles. All the old songs, I think, are just amazing. Some of the lyrics on them are fantastic. They don't write them like that nowadays. I don't listen to much modern stuff, but now and again I hear something that, you know, I think, oh, that sounds good. One that I quite liked was Feel It Still, but it's got like it's like a retro vibe to it.
Oh, my top tip for songwriters. This is one I got myself, and it's been huge for me, and it is one I will remind myself of over and over and over again because it is so hugely important. Don't be afraid to suck. The biggest part of my songwriting paralysis is the fear of being rubbish. If I can get rid of the fear to be really, really bad at songwriting, all of a sudden it frees me up to actually just get into it and get doing it and get on with it. Because, you know, if a song's rubbish, so what? Just don't show it anyone. The amount of times I've written songs and there's a lyric that's just bugged me and I'll be like, I can't, I just, you know, and it's like it's finished, but in my head it's not, because I'm just like, I don't like that lyric, it's cheesy, it's horrible, whatever. And it might be months before I dare show the full song to anyone or anything, because eventually I'll be like, that's it, that's what I want, that's what I want to change, and it'll, you know, it'll come. So just don't be afraid to suck. Biggest tip.
Make sure your pen works. Yeah, keep everything. Hoard all your musical memories, lyrics, everything really. Anything you find that makes you go, oh, that sounds good. I've been quite lucky really, because I'm able to sort of hold melodies in my head. I don't know how, but if it's strong enough, it'll stay in your head. Maybe if it doesn't work for the song that you're working on at the time, it's worth keeping those things, you know. And if you can't keep it in your head, maybe record the melody or the lyric, and you might use it later, you know.
So to all you aspiring songwriters out there, I hope this has given you some useful things to use in your own songwriting. You know, if you've got any questions or you want to ask me or Jim any questions about anything you've heard or anything you haven't heard, please do comment below, and please subscribe to the channel, and we hope you found it useful. Thanks, and see you next week.
Good luck and keep writing.